G'day everyone, Michael McManus here from the Melbourne Guitar Festival, and thanks for joining us for podcast number 4 in the Melbourne Guitar Festival podcast concert series. We always do a podcast with a visiting artist before they play, just so you can learn a little bit more about who they are and what makes them tick. And I'd like to give a special shout out to some sponsors for this upcoming concert, which are Dainton Beer, Delinquente Wine, the Australian Music Examinations Board, Cut Common Magazine, and also Old School Audio. And our next concert is on June 13th at 7 p.m. in Parkville, and we've got the amazing Daniel Nistico coming to play for us. And I'll just welcome Daniel onto the couch. G'day.
Hey.
G'day Dan, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
So some of you may know Dan already because he was born and bred here in Melbourne and started his guitar studies in Melbourne at the Victorian College of the Arts. So a familiar face to many. And recently you've been overseas in America completing a doctorate of musical arts. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
That's correct. Yeah, so I studied at the Eastman School of Music in Rochester, New York, upstate New York, near the border of Canada. And I spent about 5 years or so doing that degree after I did my master's degree here in Melbourne. And I was led there by Donna Coleman, who was a graduate of the school, Dr. Donna Coleman, who was actually a pianist I was studying with, and I think you're also taking some lessons with her. She's a phenomenal musician and artist, and so she recommended the school to me, and that's what brought me there. And that's how it all started.
Great, and now you're back home to Melbourne?
And now I'm back home after I graduated, and back home with my family in Melbourne.
So tell us a little bit about your experience in Rochester. What was your main area of study with that doctorate?
The degree I did through coursework, so I took a bunch of classes in different topics, and eventually I found myself leaning towards 19th century performance practice, so the performance practice of Saw, Giuliani, Aguado, composers like that. But I was taking classes in all sorts of strange things, like 20th century analysis, where I was doing all this like number crunching and stuff, and never sort of looked at music like that before. And I did some ethnomusicology classes, so I learnt about the music of other cultures as well. So it was a very kind of broad curriculum, I think.
Great. And how was the performance aspect of that course? Yeah,
that was pretty thorough as well. We had, I think, how many recitals did I do? I think I did 2 recitals and 1 lecture recital.
Yeah.
And the lecture recital I did was on the music of Philip Houghton. And so I was really lucky to have interviewed him in a bit of depth. I sent him some questions and got some incredible responses from him and insights into his music. So, and my wife and I performed his piece From the Dreaming for flute and guitar in that lecture recital. And then I just did 2 solo recitals. And then there's this thing called a jury, which I think is a sort of an American thing, where it's sort of like a test of, where you're at as a player. So they give you like a mark for that.
And now I've heard at the very end of a DMA, there's one really big, very scary exam where they can ask you anything and everything about any aspect of music from any period, and it's pretty full on.
Yes.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about that
Sure.
final assessment?
That's called the comprehensive exam, or the comps, as it's fondly known. It goes over 2 days.
Wow.
It's about 8 hours a day of exams, all written. You're in front of a computer just writing all that time.
Yeah.
So there's not much to do with music in terms of like playing or listening or anything. It's all just written stuff. And they expect you to have a pretty broad knowledge of the history of music, starting from ancient Greece to 20th century, including jazz as well.
Yeah.
So you have to answer some terms and write some essays, and then they give you some scores, and you have to do some score ID, take a guess at who the composer is and why you think it's that composer, and then some analysis.
Full on.
So it was,
scary.
It's really, really. I was very thankful that I managed to pass the exam, because I was I was in some doubt about getting through it, but yeah, very thankful that I did.
So. That's good. And you've done a lot of like analysis and harmonic education and classes and that over as part of your doctorate. How have you found that has helped your performance practice by understanding harmony and the intricacies behind musical composition?
That's a good question. I found that well, I think in university sometimes there's a bit of a disconnect between the analysis we do in the classroom and the analysis we could do in the music that we play as guitarists. So I tried to really mesh the two together and combine the analysis I learned in the classroom to the music I was playing, and I found that it's really like learning a language. You really start to see music as a language with all its vocabulary and grammar and punctuation, and it helped me to read music a lot more fluently and understand it. But I think it's probably helped me most as a teacher, to try and encourage students to understand the music they're playing and see the value in harmony and knowing harmony, because Aguado, the great guitar composer from the 19th century, said that guitar music is founded on chords, and I just love that little sentence. Guitar music is founded on chords. It's a really sort of simple way to remember, but it's quite profound, I think.
Yeah. And while we're talking about your teaching, I'd like to discuss that a little bit further, because you've authored several books in technique and guitar methods, and you've also been exploring the world of online guitar tuition. I know you offer Skype lessons to people all around the world, and you're also doing some online guitar courses as well. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure, yeah. Well, I started writing my first book, I think in 2016, I can't actually remember, 2017 or 2016. Anyway, I started writing the first book, and I had no idea what I was just doing it as an experiment, really. And I really liked the process. It's really time consuming, but it's really worthwhile at the same time, because at the end of it you have this sort of, it's all down, it's all ready to go. This sort of thing that you can share with other people, and so I started that, and that was fundamental harmony. So on the topic of harmony, and from there I kept on slowly churning out books, mostly based on, I think, the teaching that I was doing. So I'd try to sort of lay out some of the ideas that I was doing with other students into a book. And so I guess it's a way to share that knowledge with other people without having to coach them personally. And then from that I started to build up a bit more of a, I guess, online presence as a teacher, and just slowly built up students online, which has been a real gift for me. It's really amazing to teach people from all over the world who are into classical guitar, and one of my highlights with that is a student I have in Rwanda whose name is Emmanuel, in Africa, and to see the classical guitar being explored in a country like Africa, it's playing tariga and pieces that like that. It's quite amazing to see the spread of that, and how the internet can connect us, connect different cultures, and so
that's great. And just while we're talking as well, for anyone watching, we can check comments live. I see Ben Ellaby is watching. Hi Ben. And Chris Ish says hello.
Oh yeah, hi Chris. Yeah.
Great, thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.
So if anyone has any questions that you want to contribute while we're talking, please comment below and we'll get to them at the end as well. So we will answer any additional questions that you might have. So we'll move on. I've got a few little notes here to keep me on track. So let's have a little bit of a chat about the program that you're going to play for us on June 13th.
Yeah. All right. So the program I have, I've chosen sort of a selection. They're like mini programs in a way. So I want to sort of showcase some of the variety that the guitar has to offer for the listeners. And these are pieces that have really inspired me over my time as a guitarist. So I will be starting with a little Latin American set.
Yeah.
A piece by Pujol called Verde Alma, which is a really sweet lyrical piece. And then a really cool arrangement of El Condorpaza by Jorge Morel, who arranged that. And then finishing off with Jongo by Paolo Bellinati, which is one of my old favorites. I remember hearing my old teacher, our old teacher, Tonye Field, playing that on their recording, and that just totally inspired me, and I just wanted to learn that straight away. It was such an inspiring piece to hear. So, and then the second set, I'm going into a bit of Chopin.
Yeah.
And a composer who's linked to Chopin, Agustin Barrios, who was greatly inspired by Chopin. He wrote in the style, mazurka and waltzes in the style of Chopin. So I'm going to kind of blend the two composers a little bit. And then the third bit is the third set is by music by living composers. So I have a couple of more obscure pieces there that it's probably many if you're a just general guitar lover, you might not have come across these pieces before. One is by an Australian composer, Graham Kearney. It's called A Closed World of Fine Feelings and Grand Design, and I really love that. It's very spacious and just a grand and open sort of piece. And I'll be concluding with a set of Spanish pieces, which will probably be quite familiar to most guitar lovers.
Great. Yeah. So it sounds like a really accessible program with lots of beautiful music in there, and a few gems that perhaps audiences won't be familiar with as well. Yeah. So really looking forward to hearing them. And we have started trialling something a little bit new at our concerts, and that is showcasing a young up-and-coming performer. So last concert we had the winner of our last year's beginner category perform and did a wonderful job, Aston Susanto. He opened for Matthew McAllister. And this concert we've got actually a current student of yours who will be performing as well. So looking forward to that one as well.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that. Alice will be playing a couple of pieces, and she just did her AMAS exam last weekend. So she's playing at a very high level, and she's quite young. And so I think it'll be really, really cool for people to see that. I think it's a great idea to help encourage the younger generation a little bit and showcase them. I think it's a fantastic idea. So yeah.
And Alice won our advanced category competition at our Melbourne Guitar Festival. I think it was 2 years ago. So some of you might have seen her perform at that festival then, and she's come a long way since then as well. So that'll be great. She'll be playing for about 10 minutes before Dan comes on. And then Dan will be on from about 7:10, and there'll be an hour concert, and then after that we've got the complimentary beer, wine and cheese afterwards, and it's always a great chance for everyone to mingle and meet the artist and have a chat and just relax and enjoy everyone's company. So
and you have some luthiers too, showcasing, which I think is another fantastic idea as well.
So a lot of great local luthiers will be there displaying. I think we had probably 6 or 7 there at our last concert, and just adds so much to the vibe of the event. We've got people picking up guitars, having a play, and you get to just meet so many wonderful people and just enjoy guitar really and music.
It's great. I love how you're showcasing the younger generation and the local luthiers, and it's really it's a great gift to the guitar scene in Melbourne, what you're doing.
Thanks, Dan. And talking about luthiers, you've had a change of guitars recently, or in the last couple of years, I guess.
Yeah.
You had played a Australian-made guitar, Greg Smallman and Sons, for many years, and Greg's guitars and revolutionary in that they use a lattice brace design, and he was the one that came up with that design method for the guitar, which enabled the top to be extremely thin and thus very reverberant and resonant, and they're known to have quite a loud, strong, bold sound, and quite different to the traditional sounding guitars. But recently you've moved over to a traditional sounding guitar. Do you want to talk a little bit about the guitar that you play now, and perhaps what led to that change?
Sure.
and how you find those two instruments?
Yeah. Well, I think as many guitar players might know, each different guitar has something different to offer. So, the Smallmans have some very special and remarkable qualities to them that they have to offer. And the traditional guitars also have their own unique qualities to explore. And, if you've ever tried different guitars back to back, you know how you can sort of try and get what's in that instrument out. So the Smallman, the Smallman guitars are incredible, and I think one of the best qualities for me is the inflections you can get in those instruments. They're so they read your mind in a way. You just think something and it comes out. But something I admire about the traditional guitars is the more, I guess, striking contrasts you can get in color. So you can really get very, very vivid contrasts in color from the traditional guitars. They might not have the same resonance and projection, but they have this kind of palette in there, which it's different. It's a different kind of palette to the Smallman. And I think it suits different types of music, particularly the kinds of music that I've been focusing on a little bit more with the 19th century, so earlier, like romantic and late classical type of pieces. So that's part of the reason, just to change, it changes what you focus on a little bit as a guitar player, and also because of the music that I've been focusing on.
Great. And a common question a lot of our subscribers often ask our artists, what strings do you use?
What strings do I use? For a long time I've been using D'Addario Pro Arte EJ45, so just normal tension nylon strings. I know carbon strings have become sort of popular recently, and I'm just honestly not a fan of carbon strings because of the tonal qualities that can come out of them. But I haven't tried that many, so maybe there are ones out there that maybe I personally prefer. But I just love nylon strings. They have this kind of bell-like sort of blooming quality to them. And I just personally prefer those strings.
Yeah, great. And maybe just before we wrap up, let's have a little bit of a chat about your new son Julian. And congratulations on that.
Thank you.
You and Marla.
Thanks.
And how has being a new dad changed the way you approach practice and life as a musician?
Yeah. Oh wow. Being a dad is an amazing gift, as you're going to find out soon. Yeah. And it changes your life, in so many ways. And I think just on a superficial level, I think it's changed my approach to time management. So, when you're a father, you really need to manage your time. There's no time to just, relax and sit around like it kind of used to be for me a little bit. So, well, not that I was doing, but so I have to be really managing my time. So practicing is quite a priority. I need to get my practice in every day, but I need to be there for Julian as well. So just have to balance, it's really a balancing act. And but I guess being a father has also, I think I've grown quite a lot as a person. I feel I've learned a lot about myself as being a father, and I think that feeds into your music making as well. You just sort of, I guess, mature and you start thinking different things, and your priorities change a little bit. So, yeah.
Yeah, time management's a big one.
Yeah.
That's great. So I'll just check. So if anyone has any final questions they wish to add, just comment below. Otherwise, we'll wrap up for today's session. So thanks very much, Dan, for joining us.
And thank you. And I want to compliment you on this great equipment you have as well for the live stream. I guess listeners can't see, but Michael's got such a great setup here that he also uses for the concerts. And now that I've sort of ventured into a bit of online stuff, I know how complicated and sophisticated it can all be. So I've got to give you a hand for getting into that and doing such a great job with the live streaming.
That's great.
Yeah.
And we will be live streaming Dan's concert as well. So if you can't make it in person in Melbourne on June 13th, you can still catch the live stream at home. So hopefully some of your students from overseas will be able to tune in and watch.
I think they plan to. So hopefully with the time, teaching online, you realise that the time differences can be a bit of an issue. Sometimes I'm waking up really early, or my students are staying up late to take lessons, but it works. Yeah, you can make it work. So hopefully some students of mine can watch the live stream. It's great. It's really fantastic that you enable that.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. Well, we've had 2 so far. We tested it with Guitar Trek in Canberra, and that went really well. And then also with Matthew's recent concert as well. So 2 live streams under our belt, and we haven't had any major technical issues that interrupted the stream. So they all went off without a hitch with really great quality. So expecting the same for your one as well. And I really can't wait until the concert. Yeah. So thanks a lot, Dan.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
And thanks everyone for joining us.
All right, thank you.
And now I'll go to the other room to shut the stream off. All right. Cheers, everyone.